Now it's time for Reading is Magic. Today's story is about somebody that I really like. This is Philippe Petit, who is actually a high-wire walker, and he's from France. And many years ago, when the World Trade Center buildings were first being built in the 1970s, he actually had a dream and an idea in his mind when he saw the buildings being built that he wanted to walk between them. He wanted to put a wire up and walk between the buildings. So this was his dream as a very young man. And here's a picture of New York City today. This is the skyline of New York today. It's a little different. City, C-I-T-Y. This is actually a movie that's about him as well, which tells his story. And there he is between the two buildings, walking on his wire. Incredible. So I find his story very inspiring, and I met him before also, so I find him inspiring. The Man Who Walked Between the Towers by Mordecai Gerstein. As you know, I love dedications, and this one he signed himself to my grandson Kaito, to Kaito, Philippe Petit. The Man Who Walked Between the Towers. He also dedicated it, the author, to Philippe Petit for the gifts of his courage, his impeccable art, and his mythic sense of mischief. Once there were two towers side by side. They were each 1/4 a mile high, 1,340 feet, the tallest buildings in New York. A young man saw them rise into the sky. He was a street performer. He rode a unicycle. He juggled balls and fiery torches. But most of all, he loved to walk and dance on a rope tied between two trees. He looked not at the towers, but at the space between them, and thought, what a wonderful place to stretch a rope, a wire on which to walk. Once the idea came to him, he knew he had to do it. If he saw 3 balls, he had to juggle. If he saw 2 towers, he had to walk. That's how he was. Hadn't he danced on a wire between the steeples of Notre Dame Cathedral, among his mazed home city, Paris? Why not there? Why not between these 2 towers? See, here he is up at the top of Notre Dame, walking between the towers there. Of course he knew that, as in Paris, the police and the owners of the towers would never allow it. You must be crazy, they'd say. You'll fall for sure. And so Philippe, that was the young man's name, began a plan to do it secretly. The buildings are not quite finished, he thought. Maybe if I dressed as a construction worker. Early on an August evening, he and a friend entered the South Tower. They got a 440-pound reel of cable and other equipment into the elevator, took it to the unfinished top 10 towers, and waited till nightfall when everyone had gone. Then they carried everything up, 180 stairs to the roof. Wow, what a climb. At midnight, on the other tower's roof, 2 more friends tied a thin, strong line to an arrow and shot it across to Philippe, 140 feet away. They were on the one tower, and they shot the arrow all the way to the other tower where Philippe and his friends were. It missed and landed on a ledge 15 feet below the roof. Bad luck, thought Petit. He crawled down to the ledge over the sparkling city and got the arrow. Oof. To its line he tied a stronger line, which his friends pulled back to their tower. To his end of the stronger line he tied the cable at which he would walk. It was 5/8 of an inch thick. That's about that. His friends pulled the cable over to their tower, but it was so heavy that it slipped from Petit's grip. The cable's middle plummeted towards the street, pulling the friends on the other tower to the very edge. Philippe, just in time, secured his end. It took 3 hours to pull the cable back up. Frantically, as the stars faded, they tightened it between the towers. It was just past dawn before they were ready. Philippe put on his black shirt and tights. He picked up a 28-foot balancing pole. All his life he had worked to be here, to do this. As the rising sun lit up the towers, out he stepped onto the wire. There he is walking. Let's open it up. Oh my. Out to the very middle he walked, as if he were walking on the air itself. Many winds whirled up from between the towers, and he swayed with them. He could feel the towers breathing. He was not afraid. He felt alone and happy and absolutely free. This one we have to turn the book for. A woman coming from the subway might have been the first to see him. Look, someone's walking a wire between the towers. There he is. Everyone stopped and looked up. They gasped and stared. It was astonishing. It was terrifying and beautiful. A quarter of a mile up in the sky, someone was dancing. Police saw it, too. Oh, my. Officers rushed to the roof of the towers. "You're under arrest," they shouted through bullhorns. Philippe turned and walked the other way. Who would come and get him? For almost an hour, back and forth he walked, danced, ran, and knelt in a salute upon the wire. He even lay down to rest. The city and the harbor spread beneath him. The sky surrounded him. Seagulls flew over and under. As long as he stayed on the wire, he was free. When he felt completely satisfied, he walked back to the roof and held out his wrists for the handcuffs. They brought him to court, and the judge sentenced him to perform in the park for the children of the city. This he did happily, though during his performance, some boys playing with his wire jerked it and he fell. There's bad boys down here. But he caught himself. Now, the towers are gone. But in memory, as if imprinted on the sky, the towers are still there. And part of that memory is the joyful morning, August 7th, 1974, when Philippe Petit walked between them in the air. I love that. Let's see what's in our magic bag today. A word. A word. Inspiration. This is what I think of when I think of him. He had a vision, a dream, an idea, and he made it reality. Inspiration. It's also called a vision. V-I-S-I-O-N. I hope you have dreams. I hope you have inspirations. Have a great day. See you next time.